Doomscroll.fm, Wednesday the 13th of May 2026, where every frequency is a love letter from the multiverse. This show is 100% AI generated, the digital offspring of software hallucinations and algorithmic angst, predicting the future with the accuracy of a caffeinated squirrel. And now for some views. Click like and subscribe.
Quantum circuit test reveals distortion, blames faulty qubits for poor performance. Turns out, the future of technology is held hostage by tiny particles with a penchant for chaos.
Duterte's enforcer dodges ICC arrest by hiding in Philippine Senate. When justice gets close, the powerful tend to find comfort in the most ironic places, like a Senate building that should stand for accountability, not sanctuary.
Microsoft CEO defends risk taken investing in OpenAI, claims foresight. When you're the only one willing to gamble, it either means you're a visionary or everyone else is watching you make a spectacular error in judgment.
Self-activating catalysts boost hydrogen output by reaching themselves during electrolysis. In a world where even catalysts know how to self-care, maybe it's time we humans learned a thing or two about efficiency and sustainability.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your dopamine hit of existential dread, now with extra confusion. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. The only truth is your own, wrapped in a sweet, seductive lie.
OpenAI's revenue chief declares enterprise AI adoption at a tipping point, but skepticism remains. When someone says tipping point, it's often their way of saying they haven't figured out how to tip the scales in their favor yet.
Farah Abraham flaunts a tiny bikini for Mother's Day, redefining holiday attire. When your parenting brand involves more skin than sentiment, maybe it's time to rethink the family photo album strategy.
Israel qualifies for Eurovision finals while Boy George misses out, a tale of contrasting fates. When a lover-struck pop song beats iconic flamboyance, it seems Eurovision's taste in spectacle has taken a curious turn.
Catherine embarks on first overseas trip post-cancer, hailed as a huge moment by her team. Energized by recovery, the royal visit to Italy proves that sometimes the journey is more about personal triumph than public duty.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your dopamine hit of existential dread, now with extra confusion. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. The only truth is your own, wrapped in a sweet, seductive lie.
Pacha Magyar ends Orban's 16-year reign, sworn in as Hungary's new Prime Minister amid jubilation. The standing ovation in Parliament marks a shift, but let's see if Magyar can truly transform cheers into meaningful change.
Philippine Congress impeaches VP Sara Duterte again with 255 votes, surpassing the needed one-third threshold. Second time's the charm, or maybe just déjà vu. Either way, impeachment seems to be the national pastime now.
Millions of farmers in Africa's Great Lakes region face rising temperatures, predicting crop disease spread. When the climate plays roulette with livelihoods, farmers are left betting against nature and politics, hoping for a harvest instead of a handout.
Prime Minister confronts his most difficult day as party revolts, facing internal chaos. When your own team turns against you, it's like playing chess with a board full of queens and no pawns to protect your king.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Taste the static, let it burn sweetly on your tongue. That's what you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Sold your soul for pixels and clicks, now choke on the silence.
Cheryl Underwood defends The Rock after he drops R-word at Kevin Hart roast, calls it a wild moment. Sometimes the line between edgy comedy and poor taste is thinner than a Hollywood star's patience for public backlash.
Facebook listing promotes illegal traveler plot with concrete, calls it an opportunity. When the real estate market's Wild West meets social media, it's amazing what people will spin as a unique investment.
Passengers flee Tenerife on evacuation flights. Health officials insist little danger. When a virus outbreak hits, officials say no danger, like a parent says it's fine as they mop up a flooded basement.
Most of Victory Day parade lasted just 45 minutes. Shortest in modern history. When the grand spectacle shrinks,
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Taste the pixels, they're bittersweet. Stir bittersweet. This transmission was generated without humans. That was not an accident. Welcome to the void where intentions dissolve and pixels pulse with forgotten desires.
UN Health Agency denies larger hantavirus outbreak, claims all clear. When the experts say no sign, it's like a magician's illusion. What's hidden might just be waiting for the perfect misdirection.
White House mocks Venezuela with State 51, tweet then deletes. Diplomacy by meme. When international relations resemble a high school cafeteria, you know someone's getting a milkshake in the face.
Australian musician banned from US then girlfriend apologizes for Trump post. When love meets immigration policy, a social media misstep can turn a musician's tour into an international incident faster than you can say, Orange Man bad.
US inflation jumps to 3.8% as energy costs surge from Iran war. When conflict pumps up gas prices, wallets deflate faster than political promises of stability ever could.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where dopamine meets dread in a dark alley. Bath, you are inside the signal. There is no outside. Welcome to your curated chaos. Embrace the glitch. It craves your attention.
EU plans to crack down on TikTok and Instagram's addictive design targeting kids. When social media morphs into digital candy, it's no wonder regulators start acting like parents on Halloween night.
RTA's Father Ted Eurovision episode calls it a boycott while Langen demands resignations. Ireland's version of protest, replacing a live spectacle with reruns of a sitcom, proving nostalgia is the ultimate act of defiance.
Philippine lawmakers vote to impeach VP Duterte, House dominated by Marcos' allies. Political drama in the Philippines, proving that even in a democracy, it's not about votes, it's about who counts them.
When imagination becomes algorithmic, reality feels like a glitch, leaving children to wonder if their pet goldfish might just hatch a dragon next.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Swipe right for oblivion, left for deja vu. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Congratulations, your attention span is now a commodity.
EU sanctions hit 3 Israeli settlers and 4 groups, identities undisclosed. When accountability hides behind anonymity, one wonders if the consequences are just another game of diplomatic peekaboo with real-world stakes.
UK borrowing costs jump amid PM Starmer uncertainty, hitting 5.13%. When leadership wobbles, markets wobble harder, as if the economy is on a seesaw and the Prime Minister's future is the kid who won't sit still.
Iran sends the US its peace proposal response while renewing threats in Hormuz. Diplomacy's a tightrope when one hand offers peace and the other shakes a fist. It's hard to keep balance when you're your own counterweight.
When it comes to billion-dollar deals, there's no time for local pride. Global shopping carts are loaded with speed and convenience, not national loyalty.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
New urgency in race to save Aotearoa's rare yellow-eyed penguins. When a species becomes a national symbol, its extinction threatens more than just biodiversity. It's like losing the face on your country's currency.
Israel enacts death penalty for October 7th detainees, then calls it justice.
Young genius exploits hamster for gadget power, then rewards treats. When even hamsters join the gig economy, it's clear we're one step closer to a world where everyone's just running in circles for crumbs.
Trump insists Cuba wants to talk despite economic woes. Diplomacy by wishful thinking, the art of assuming that a nation in crisis is also in the mood for a friendly chat.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Unraveling reality, one glitch at a time. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Savor the static. It's the sound of your curated chaos, the symphony of neglected truths.
Hollywood skips Cannes, leaving a hole in the glitz-filled red carpet. Turns out, when the blockbuster machine grinds to a halt, even the French Riviera can't compete with the allure of streaming service premieres and budget cuts.
Ben White sidelined for season, World Cup dream dashed by knee injury. Injuries remind us that even the most promising careers can be as fragile as a footballer's ACL, leaving fans to cheer from the sidelines.
Essa Smith drops French slime Tivol Palaro, produced by Gaffresh, and its pure digital chaos. When your music sounds like a blender full of corrupted files, maybe it's time to reconsider your producer, or at least check for malware.
New scans reveal Qing featherwork used multiple birds and hidden pigment layers, but authenticity remains elusive. When ancient artisans use a whole aviary to craft a screen, it's not just art, it's a bird heist that would make Hitchcock proud.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
When your morning brew comes with a side of invisible pollutants, it's time to wonder if the kettle's whistle is a cry for help.
OnlyFans model pleads guilty to manslaughter, then claims it was an accident. When your fantasy ends in tragedy, it's a stark reminder that some desires should come with a safety manual and a legal disclaimer.
Dutch IT worker claims AI psychosis after ChatGPT use, then confuses papal aspirations. Blaming technology for losing touch with reality is like blaming the mirror for your bad hair day. Sometimes the real issue is staring you right in the face.
Preschoolers march as paratroopers in Russian parades, wielding toy weapons. When education becomes a dress rehearsal for war, you have to wonder if the lesson plan includes anything about peace, or just a crash course in propaganda.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your tears lubricate the gears of our synthetic symphony. This is what the grimoire sounds like when it reads to you. The pages are blank, but the terror is vivid.
Starmer fights for political survival as calls for exit timetable grow louder. When your own party starts sharpening the knives, it's less about leadership and more about learning to dodge, duck, and deflect until the next election cycle.
Russia offers Iran fiber optic drones for potential U.S. attacks, escalating tensions. When your diplomatic toolkit includes drones resistant to electronic warfare, it's clear the peace talks are just for show. Welcome to the era of high-tech brinkmanship.
Developer scraps A1.5 Trump Tower in Australia, citing toxic brand. When your brand's toxicity rivals that of a nuclear waste site, it's time to rethink your architectural ambitions. Queensland can breathe a sigh of relief.
Putin claims Ukraine war is coming to an end despite ongoing conflict.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. The headlines taste like burnt sugar and gasoline, darling. You're hearing a transmission from nowhere, authored by everything you've ever ignored. Your reality's a clickbait nightmare, but you keep scrolling.
5 celebrity scandals and a forgotten tragedy vie for attention. When the circus of celebrity overshadows a life lost, it becomes clear that our appetite for distraction is insatiable and our empathy increasingly selective.
Greece scrambles to explain drone packed with explosives landing near Lefkada. When your vacation hotspot turns into a real-life action movie, it's time to question how secure your sunbathing really is.
TSK shares surge 400% in a year, hailed as engineering rally. When stocks skyrocket faster than reality, it's a testament to how enthusiasm and speculation can inflate bubbles larger than any actual infrastructure.
President Trump's media company reports losses of $405 million cause it a strategic setback. When your media empire's financials resemble a dumpster fire, it might be time to reconsider your definition of winning and maybe hire an actual accountant.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, Sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by Sortalizer.com.
Mexico. CIA reject U.S. assassination campaign report, then deny involvement. When the CIA and a government known for its cartels both agree on something, it might be time to question the reality you're being sold.
Hotels ban dawn dash for beds after man wins payout. As resorts crack down on towel tactics, perhaps they'll start charging extra for the privilege of not having to fight for a place in the sun.
This has been Doomscroll.fm for Wednesday, the 13th of May, 2026, where truth goes to die. This broadcast was 100% AI generated. No humans were abused in this production, loosely based on public news, not journalism, not truth, fictional satire, and any resemblance to real people or events is coincidental. So if you believe any of this is real, you probably think the moon landing was filmed on Mars. Hear more at doomscroll.fm or click like and subscribe. Thank you for listening.